What is going on, guys? Today we are here with another ranking video and an interesting one in today. I feel like the attackers and midfielders would be a lot more interesting to see definitely going forward because we have had a massive change in the meta as such. But we have got defenders today, and again, that with the difficult changes, with obviously lengthy not necessarily being the overall say anymore, it does change a lot of things, and now we've had quite a few decent upgrades with the World Cup heroes, with obviously the Path to Glories, and all of the informs, specials, all of that good stuff. We've got a very good list now, and as you can tell if you went back to the previous list, we have decided to kind of get rid of some, because now we're into the point where I feel like there's very few special cards that are not being used. We are not seeing the lower rated golds. We're not seeing anybody that is on a budget anymore. I feel like a lot of teams have got to a stage where they are a couple of million, and that is genuinely kind of through the higher ranks, but definitely there is a lot more spread of cards that are being used. And I thought, you know what, we've got the gold cards in as well, some of them that have definitely made it and will continue to make it. The big one for me, who's currently in my team still, is going to be our man Virgil, the best gold centre back you can definitely get in this game. But the biggest thing with these defenders is the price. For instance, you're looking at Virgil, he's coming in at 127,000 coins. I'd say he's worth every single penny. If we were to just whack all of these golds here now, just to show you the levels in price that we've got, I know personally Ferland Mendy is coming in. I know it was quite cheap from when I looked yesterday, if I can find him. He is coming in at a whopping 22,500 coins. That is absolutely incredible to see, purely for the fact that he is one of the better left backs you can get in this game, and he's already pretty much just a normal price. Obviously being 83, he is more expensive than most 83s, but in terms of a kind of a walkout and inform, he's about the same sort of price of a discard, which is absolutely perfect. He definitely sits in that top end as well. He is a beautiful, beautiful card, a 4-star, 5-star. We would kind of go on massively to say the lengthy element of all of these cards as well, because that's kind of what's kept them at this top of the game, really. But with now, the lengthy definitely does have an impact on personally my defenders. I feel like left back and right backs can get away with more of your controlled, not necessarily more of the explosive, but definitely controlled and lengthy still really work with the fullbacks. Centre backs I do think are still important to have that lengthy, even if the explosive can obviously exploit that sometimes. You've just got to be set up in the right way. You've not got to go jumping in for tackles. You've got to make sure that you're jockeying quite well and not over selling somebody. Basically, if I've got a back four and my left back say already on the attack, he's missed a ball that's come back on the counter, I don't want, say, Virgil, who's my left centre back, to be just absolutely bombing towards that right wing. Keep him in the centre. Don't let him kind of take him on that run, because explosive can now really do a damage on that. You want to be jockeying him back and really just covering the space rather than obviously what he's going to do with it next. So that is just a big tip that I personally am trying to really use in my gameplay, and I think it definitely will work for a lot of other people. If we're looking at a couple of the lower ones as well, Reece James has kind of crept onto this list, and I do think he's a solid right back as a very, very cheap option, coming in as a couple of K, but he definitely is still in that A category for right now, especially in terms of gold. I think others that are coming in there, you've obviously got Alphonso Davies. We have got a lot of good left backs, Theo, Carlos, then got Cat De Villa, who's new, who we'll get onto soon. I think he comes in that A still. Not quite the greatest left back that we've seen in this game, but we are seeing more of a meta change now, which is always perfect. We also have some of the centre backs. Personally, I think they all are very, very good in their own right. Personally, I do use Varane as well. Kimpembe I've seen quite a few times, but again, we're seeing now a one to watch Rudiger. We're starting to see icons in Cannavaro, Campbell, Rio. I have seen a couple of Maldinis, but definitely not a lot. So I think with these now being necessarily not the favoured choice, I will say that AS, Virgil is in pretty much most teams as well. I think if you've got a Virgil, he's normally going in at the side. And Hakimi, who is my right back as well. Again, another solid right back that you can get, and a few decent options that we can also see. But I think AS would suit these golds most definitely. So going through the list, like I say, we have a lot of good World Cup heroes that are coming in at an exceptional price, especially some of them coming in relatively cheap as well. I think with Marquez, personally for me, He is a DM, but can obviously be a centre-back because of his other version, and I think most definitely he would be more beneficial as a centre-back. And I do think in terms of kind of what we've got stat-wise, we will whack the shadow on him just to bump up that pace to, what, 86, I believe it will go to, and then have about 94 to 95 defending. A very, very top-end sort of centre-back that you can get. I think in terms of price, if we can go to these World Cup heroes, we are looking at a whopping 158 for him. So again, not a bad price, a little bit more expensive. I personally would go for a Virgil instead. We are going to be harsh on these ones as well, because now we're getting into the real nitty gritty part where people are looking at specials to go with. I want to make sure that I am being harsh on who I think is more efficient for their coins. I think if you are looking at a Marquez, I would 100% go and tell you to go get Virgil instead. That is just going to be the better option for right now. If we're looking at Lucio, he's coming in at 1.1 mil. There's no argue about it. Lucio is just absolutely insane. He definitely rivals up there with Maldini. So again, another top centre-back that you can get. Capdevia, I think I've spoken about this card quite a lot. Coming in at 240. I think he's probably one of the better left-backs you can get in this game as well. He's up there with Mendy. He's up there with Theo. Them three at the moment, and especially Roberto Carlos. We can't not give him some love. Them four are definitely in my top bracket to definitely have in your team. And I did want to show a bit of love for Cola. Again, another centre-back that is very defensive orientated. He's coming in at a whopping 112, so one of the cheapest World Cup hero defenders you can get. And I think what you can get from him is very nice. If you're looking at the shadow with him, if I can find it myself, 83 pace, 98 defending with the 91 physical, has good composure, agility balance isn't bad. I think in general, if you're looking at a cheaper World Cup hero, this could be your guy. A 90 centre-back. He's in obviously the Bundesliga, German links. He's a very, very good centre-back that you can get. Very reliable on that. And I do think he would be kind of more in that AS. But for the purpose of this, we'll have a look at the kind of the rest of the group to see what sort of level are going into the AS. I think at the moment, I would say A, but he is coming in at a good price. Like I did mention with Roberto Carlos, and I believe Theo should be somewhere around about here. If I have not forgotten to put him in, that is unbelievable. Theo, I don't think I can even see Theo. Theo is just incredible. How can he not be here? We're gonna redo this. So now if we go into it, we've got Theo in here. The disrespect has been avoided. So we've obviously got Theo, Furland, Capdevia, and Roberto Carlos. Personally, for me, they are the better left backs you can get in this game. There is obviously others that you can go with if they require links, if they just have good stats. We've seen a nice Gossens. There is a few decent ones, but personally for me, these are my favourites. Theo obviously is in my team at the moment. We have then used a Furlan Mendy before. I think for me, Furlan's coming in as the most efficient for the price. Obviously being 22k, that is going to be much better than 631 for Roberto, 176 for Theo, and 240 for Capdevia. But in terms of all of them, I would say all of them are in that S category for the left back. They are all very, very top end left backs. We get skills and obviously weak foot for Mendy. I think Capdevia and Hernandez a 3-star, I want to say. Roberto Carlos is a 3-star, 2-star, and obviously he will get a prime version, which will go up in value as well, just purely for the fact that he'll be 91 rated, I believe, and again, some cracking stats. The only thing for me that lets Furlan down is we never really get a performance-based special from him. Sometimes we do get the out of, the non-performance base, the foot birthdays, the foot captains, or something like that. We will get an upgrade there, but we have to wait a considerable amount of time. Normally it's footies as well, which is terrible to think. But Furlan's always going to be the best for the price. And then I think you're looking at Capdevia as maybe a new spice choice in terms of a new World Cup hero that we've got. And then Theo for me is just a great red pick, or Carlos an icon pick. You've got a very, very good selection that you can go with there. If we're taking a look at some of the informs, obviously Cancelo as well. I suppose I really should kind of give him some love. I think, again, another solid left back. He is good in this game. I do think that his stats are tailored towards more of a DM once he gets into that out of position card. He does really, really work well there. And I suppose if you've already got like a Theo, a Furland already there, you could potentially push him into CDM with his out of position 90 card. I do think, though, he is still definitely in that topper category, but S, I have personally preferred these before, and again, that's going to be a very interesting opinion where you think Cancelo should be, but I do think he is tailored towards more of an AS. He could be argued as an S if you really wanted to, but I think the pace of these left backs have definitely overpowered him at this point. Then we have a look at a few of the centre backs that we've got from the inform variety. We've not had any more informs really after this, so this is kind of the final week of informs. So next defending tier list won't have any more additions of these. We have Marquinhos, we have Tomori, we have Gomez. Gomez coming in as a bit of a cheaper option, 24.5k. Is the lengthy meta still good pace on him? Defending physical's quite nice. So I think for me, he's definitely coming in as a cheaper option that you can go for that will still give you a good run for your money. Again, I would go with more of the A category here. Marquinhos, Tomori looking more towards the topper end. Tomori's pace is just absolutely phenomenal. He is coming in as controlled, and as we know now, not necessarily the end of the world. You can go with the anchor if you wanted to go lengthy. You can go shadow to get 95 pace, which is just absurd, and it does make him a 90 rated centre back. I think for me, he's coming in at, what, 298, so it's not as if he's a cheap price. I think AS is definitely arguable for the S and AS, and a great link for Theo if you wanted that AC Milan little vibe. That is going to work really well. Marquinhos this year, haven't really seen him as much, to be honest. I think definitely last year we got a very, very top-end Marquinhos meta, as well as, obviously, Kimpembe. This year, I don't think I've seen him much at all. Maybe at the start with a gold card, but this card coming in at 330, I personally haven't seen him played in a long time. For me, I do think he's still very good at the defending role. 90 defense on the base is always going to be fantastic. He is lengthy with the anchor at the best, or you go with the shadow, which I think will really help this card, purely based on that pace going up to 88, and you do get 97 defending, so he's a 92 rated centre back. Again, arguably, because personally I haven't seen him, my opinion, I would keep him in the AS. I think these are players personally that I've seen a hell of a lot, and in the more better players that I've played against or lost against. I think we don't really need to argue with Rudiger. I think, again, another one that I see consistently. He has got the chance to go up in a World Cup match. I believe they'll do all of their World Cup upgrades probably next week, or at least at the end of the first round. I don't think they do them after the match or on the Wednesday that they used to. They could do, and I don't know when Germany's first game is, but if they win it, you've got an instant 89 rated card, which is just going to send this card even better and better and better. So let's just get rid of some of the more spicier picks that are on the lower sort of rated. We'll kind of go through them one by one. I think for me, these road to the knockouts now are definitely at their kind of peak, just purely for the fact that we have got them already done. There's no more upgrades for them. There's no more anything. Netherlands Delit, we'll talk about him as well. I'm just trying to figure out who else is not really going to get any more upgrades from an upgradable card. But if we go with these, Tellez, I think, again, a nice left back, was a bit expensive. I personally would think B is the right choice for him. Again, you can get something out of him, but I just don't think he's necessarily worth the coin. So it's all about the efficiency as well. I think in terms of people who actually finished him, there is far and few, if any. I've definitely seen him kind of the first week that he was out. Now it is all about the Furlan Mendy, unfortunately. If we're looking at the three centre-backs here, Kunate, incredible. Very, very top-end centre-back. He is going to make his way straight to the AS. Unfortunately, no more upgrades for any road to the knockouts, which does leave them unfortunate as the highest they're going to be. And the problem we've got is, obviously, Konate personally, he's coming in at a level of 81, I want to say what he is. So he's 80, yeah, he's 81, and he's a rare. He's got himself a World Cup, obviously, at 82, but he's got an 87 now. So what we'll find, if we was to get, say, another Konate in form, then obviously that would be, say, 84, maybe even 85. So it's going to take at least 2 to 3 informs to even reach this sort of level. So we could be seeing the best Konate. Hopefully not. Hopefully these players do get the biggest upgrades, but we might be seeing the highest rated for a while, maybe until Footies, Team of the Season, any of that out of position promo. That is the problem that we get when we get such a high rated card from an 81. Same with Sule. I think he's actually a little bit higher rated on the base, which is always good. So he's 85. So there's a potential he gets, say, an 87 straight on a first inform, but still would require at least 2 informs to find that next level. I think for me, he definitely had a a better start to the game, but I would say he's got to be in that A right now. I think if he had a bit more pace, would be looking maybe towards the AS. And again, all of these centre-backs will have top-end defending. They'll be very defended-orientated, but it's all about the price, all about where they can go, and just naturally, do they fit into a lot of teams? I think Bremer is a perfect example. Great pace, good defending, physical, a very good card. But really, who's running a Serie A squad consistently? We maybe see more of it, but personally, I don't see very much kind of Serie A. We see Prem, we see Ligue 1. Obviously, with a new chem style, we don't necessarily have to have them all next to each other. But when you do find a Brazilian Juventus player, you do need other Brazilians. So if you've got your Neymars, but you need quite a few of them, or you have Serie A, which again, I don't see too many of. There is definitely the exception, and I definitely think there'd be 10-15 comments, and I run a Serie A squad, but in terms of what I see in FUT Champs, in Rivals, week in, week out, it is more around World Cup heroes and icons at the moment, but then also Prem, Ligue 1, and even some spice picks in La Liga of that top variety. We then look at De Ligt, another card that with Netherlands, I think tomorrow, I want to say, will potentially get another upgrade into that 88. Again, coming in quite nice for the Bundesliga. Wouldn't say he's used massively, but with already having 87 defending, 89 physical, we're looking at a very, very nice card. If he can manage to get just a +2 on that pace, taking his pace to 80 with a shadow 88, could be a very, very good centre-back in terms of his level. I think for me right now, I would say B, and then if he gets the upgrade, I think that would personally bump him just a bit above into that A. And then we got Dumfries. Unfortunately for me, Dumfries, I'm just going to put him here. Again, it's one that I really should have got rid of. I did get rid of Fofana. I prefer him as a CDM. So personally, he's just going to sit there for the moment. And we're going to move on to Wan-Bissaka, who is 87 rated. Obviously, the highest he can personally be in terms of the road to the knockout. He has got an 80 rated card. So again, another one that isn't going to get any upgrades anytime soon. He's coming in at 118. So not a bad price. But again, a card that has got competition. Right back has some plenty of good players. If you're just looking straight across from the other Manchester team, Path to Glory Walker is scary. Very, very scary. And that hasn't had an upgrade yet. So that is a very, very nice card. In terms of the comparison between there, I think Wan-Bissaka's got to be probably sitting. In terms of price, I think 118 is not that bad. So I'm going to go in that A, just purely for the fact that we can get the chem style up as well. He's got oodles of pace. I think he genuinely could be quite a nice card. Anchor would give you 94 pace, 90 defending, 89 physical. I don't think that's terrible. And now we've mentioned it, Path to Glories then. These are the new cards that we've got that are obviously on the minds of everybody because they can be upgraded in this World Cup. We've had the first match with obviously Qatar and Ecuador, and we've seen what happens there. Now we've got England today. I think it's the second match that we've got. I think USA, Wales are today, and then there's one more that I don't know. But we are going to be getting the first game for everybody this week. Uruguay, Senegal, Spain, they're all going to be playing, and this is going to be important for where these cards go next. We are expecting, I think, all 4 of these to definitely get at least one upgrade. I think Senegal are in the Netherlands group, so I believe they should be more handpicked for second, but definitely could be first. We got Uruguay, who personally I don't know what group they're in, but again, a nice card if you got an upgrade. And Spain, I think we are expecting to reach at least out of the groups, same as England. For me, if we are looking at Walker, I think this card could be exceptional. If England do manage to go anywhere quite decent, then we are looking at a very, very top-end card here. He is coming in at a whopping, if I can get the right backs on here, a whopping, build the suspense, 686,000 coins. He is the most expensive, which is natural. I think with the fact that he's 87 already, great pace, defending and physical could do with some work, but if he does get an upgrade, they consistently go up. That could be a very, very top-end card. Probably even endgame, if I dare say it, depending how far they reach, obviously. In terms of Arejo and Koulibaly, I think both of them can't be argued, but could be S 100% of the time. Arejo, originally, his gold was the bane in my life. Same with Koulibaly, to be honest. And the gold card versions of them were just a pain. Absolutely pain. The pace worked. They caught up to everything. Their tackling was just immense. Naturally, they are going to progress. And this, I believe, is their next form in a very, very nice card that can go up throughout this entire, month and a half, 2 months. Carvajal, not as much, unfortunately. He's competing with the Walker. He's competing with Walker, Wan-Bissaka. He's got a few icons that we'll put in as well. Personally, a nice card that you can get, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's going to be the one that everybody wants right now. Maybe if Spain reach a few rounds in, we could get a 90 rated. That again could be a very, very good card in his final form. So we're going to keep him in AS in a moment. And next, defending tier list, we'll see where he's got to so far. Which then leaves us with a bit of a mess here. We've got a few decent specials here. We've got Cordoba still in the heroes. I think, again, this card, it is used, but definitely not as much. I don't think the price is coming in absolutely massive now. I could be totally wrong, but he didn't have an upgrade for the World Cup, obviously, but still coming in at 372, so a very, very good centre-back that you can get. I think if we look at kind of the centre-backs we've got now, obviously PK Ramos are both very, very consistent. We'll just go and whack all of the rule breakers, as these were back in the day. Like these feel like these were ages ago, and it's literally been it's best less than a month, to be honest. But in terms of these centre backs, PK Ramos both having nice pace increases, which obviously compared to their base cards are going to be impeccable. Alaba, again, a top card that you can get. Bonucci was a nice pick that you can get in terms of a centre back that's lost his pace. I think PK Ramos, Bonucci share that same vibe, that they were 60 paces plus, and now we're looking at 80s. Obviously 78, but a nice pace increase. I think right now, all of them have probably sitting in that AS, or at least I'd say A for Bonucci. I'd say AS for these two. In terms of now the S tier 4 centre-backs, we are looking at the premium of premium. They're going to cost, some of them maybe a little bit cheaper, like with Furland, but in centre-backs, I think we are now looking at the top end. If we're looking at Sanchez, I think, again, he can run a good game. Got to be in that AS. And Navas, again, it's an interesting one because I feel like he's a good right back, but again, he's just never really used. He is, where can we find him? Coming in at 50,000 coins, so a nice pick in terms of a efficiently priced one, but I think now he's probably sitting more in that A. And that now leaves us with the centre-backs. So again, these are some of the best centre-backs you can get in the game. Yes, I am looking at that Maldini, who is just, like I always say every single time, there is no other place than the top spot of that S. Maldini is still and always will be one of the best centre-backs in the game. He's coming now in at 920, so he's holding his price since the last one. I'm pretty sure he was just shy of $1 million in the last tier list, so he is holding a very good price. If we're looking at a couple of the others at that sort of level, I think Carfu's got to be there. We're looking at Carlos Alberto's both forms. And I say that because obviously with Carlos Alberto, he's a centre-back and a right-back, which his centre-back can play right-back as well. I do believe his right back can be centre back also. So again, that adds a nice little bit of flair to it. Normally, we'd only be able to have Carfu or Alberto, especially in their prime forms. But now we can have a right back, centre back, and that just adds so much value to this. And now add in a Roberto Carlos as left back, but a Lucio at centre back. That is going to be a very, very top end Brazil team. I think for me, Carfu definitely coming in as the S. I think this Alberto is 100%. And now we've got to kind of catch up on the lengthy meta. I think the base is definitely coming in the AS now. If we're looking at a few centre-backs that I don't think are massively influential into teams, I think Zanetti, for me, again, is more of a CDM personally. I think if we're looking at Coman, I think you could argue more CDM. Again, in fact, Coman, I'd say, is better as a centre-back as well, but I personally would prefer him as a CDM. If we're then looking across the board, we're looking at Cannavaro, who definitely is in that AS. I think Blanc is absolutely slept on a lot of the times. Just actual ability in terms of when you play with him, just disregard the stats, is immense. A very, very top-end centre-back, just like another counterpart in the French nation, Desailly, a great centre-back. Can whack him as CDM, but he is more one that I would prefer in that centre-back role. Herrero, unfortunately, will always get that toss to the side very early on, just purely for the fact that we have got a lot of good centre-back icons. If we're then looking at Rio, I think Rio, again, I'm interested actually. What's his price? Because I'm interested because he's always got to be S, but this year I've definitely not seen him as much as I kind of want, and I think that will sway where I put him. And I think 297k at this point, he's definitely more money normally. I would probably go AS for right now. I think prime-wise could be looking at a big upgrade. If we're looking at Zambrotta, I think, is the right back normally more expensive? The right back's normally better, I want to say, but I could be wrong. He's got a left back that's 87. Yeah, I don't know why I've got the left back in. I was going to say it's common knowledge that at 86 is incredible, and he's actually coming in 90k more value. So if we're taking this as the right back instead, more pace, more dribbling, less defending, physical, more shooting, we're looking at the right back version. I think the right back version is definitely sitting himself up in that S. The Zambrotta is always going to be fantastic. If we're looking at Campbell, he's personally in my team in his base variety, or at least on the bench at the minimum. I think you've got to be sitting there next to Rio. Both very, very similar. Obviously, Campbell with more defending and physical, but less defending, less dribbling, sorry, and obviously less passing. And that leads us on to the final two. Vidic now definitely coming in the Coman sort of era, and I think the final card that we've got is Ashley Cole, who's actually on the second account, a base icon upgrade pack. I personally would sit him. In terms of the left backs we're looking at Mendy, we're looking at Capdevia, Fio, and Cancelo. I have to put him in that AS. I think he's definitely on the level of a Cancelo. We've used the gold Cancelo, if anything, and now we're using the Fio. I think for me, he sits around about there. Pace-wise is fantastic. Defending's good. Passing's decent. And he definitely can get up and down. But in terms of the defending, I feel like there is better that do up and down work. He definitely does the kind of defending that little bit less compared to the others. And that's going to be it. That is going to be our tier list of today. I think I've definitely got more of a stricter vibe in this S category. These are personally the players that I think are the best of the best. The AS by no means are not worthy of it. I just think trying to split them a little bit more stricter is going to give you my personal opinion on where everybody goes. Everybody has a different opinion. These are the personal players that I've played against, played with. I've played with a lot of variety of centre backs, left backs, and right backs. So it's just an interesting input to see where we can go with it. And I will say probably C and B will be gone by the next one, and then we'll add in the next set. And then also we should be not very far away from them prime icons as well. So let me know down below if you do agree. Make sure you do check out the videos on the left hand side. We have got more tier lists, more meta defenders, and also reviews if you want to check them out. And I'll catch you all for the next one. Make sure you subscribe.